The storm arrived without precedent, turning the shining city of Neridia into a raging, chaotic torrent of cerulean floodwaters. Rain hammered the reinforced viewport of Ranger Callum Anderson's patrol craft as he navigated the inundated streets, his grip tight on the steering yoke. The city's elegant spires, once monuments to Neridian engineering, now stood as lonely pillars in a rapidly rising ocean. Patrol 731, report back to base. Effective immediately, the severe voice of Commander Drell crackled over his coms. All human personnel are to disengage. This is a Neridian domestic issue. Callum's jaw clenched. 6 years stationed on this aquatic planet, and the Neridian High Council still treated all humans like unwelcome pests. Copy, Command. Returning to base, he banked the craft around a submerged transit hub, its powerful engines churning the turbulent water. That's when he spotted her. A speck of azure against the drab gray of the storm. A Neridian woman was submerged to her chest in the surging flood, her slender arms wrapped fiercely around a small child. Her silvery blue hair was plastered to her slender shoulders, and even at this range, Callum could see the terror in her large, luminous eyes. No one was stopping. Others of her kind rushed past, ignoring her, focused only on their own escape. To hell with the protocol, Callum growled. Spinning his craft toward them, the woman's head snapped up as the cruiser's floodlights hit her face. She was beautiful, even choked with fear. She had delicate features, bright blue skin that seemed to glow in the rain, and a small girl of maybe 8 buried her face against her mother's neck. Callum popped the canopy hatch, and the storm immediately soaked his dark blonde hair, sending rivers of cold water down his face. His protective armor, standard for human physiology but adapted for Neridia's atmosphere, gleamed in the dim light. "Grab on!" he shouted, extending his arm to the woman. She hesitated, her gaze darting to the Human Ranger Corps' insignia on his shoulder. He was an outsider. Around them, several other Neridians paused, their expressions a mix of curiosity and open contempt. "I can help you," Callum said, his voice softer this time, his eyes locking with hers. "Trust me." For a long moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Then, the woman shifted her daughter to one arm and reached out. Her slim, blue fingers locked onto his. Her skin was icy, but her grasp was firm as Callum hauled her toward the craft. The little girl whimpered as he helped them both climb inside, their soaked garments creating puddles on the cruiser's deck. "Thank you," the woman said, her voice musical even through her exhaustion. "My name is Estia. This is my child, Mixa." "Callum Anderson," he replied, sealing the hatch and shutting out the howl of the storm. Human Ranger Corps, and as of today, a rule breaker. As he piloted the craft back into the main flood current, Callum was painfully aware of the boundary he had just crossed and the certain repercussions. But as he glanced at the relieved face of the child and the grateful eyes of her mother, he couldn't find an ounce of regret. He didn't know it yet, but this single act of compassion was about to change his life and the future of human-Neridian relations. "Where can I take you?" he asked, already calculating safe routes. Estia's eyes met his, a mix of gratitude and something else he couldn't decipher. "Somewhere safe," she whispered. "Anywhere." A tremendous impact rocked the cruiser as a huge object struck its port side. The vehicle lurched, throwing Estia hard against Callum's chest as alarms blared across the console. "Propulsion system hull integrity compromised," the craft's automated voice announced with infuriating calm. "Evacuation is advised." Callum swore, fighting the controls as the cruiser began to list heavily. Through the viewport, he saw a collapsed section of a spire had drifted into them, a victim of the flood eating away at the city's foundations. "We need to find shelter," he said, his eyes on the navigation display. "This craft won't stay buoyant for long." Estia clutched Mixa, the girl's eyes wide with fresh terror. The old commerce spire, she suggested, pointing through the rain-lashed glass. It was built on higher ground. Callum nodded, forcing the dying cruiser toward a massive structure whose ornate towers rose above the water. The lower floors were drowned, but its main entrance hall was elevated, reachable by a wide set of stairs that now acted as a makeshift dock. "Hold on," he warned, maneuvering the craft alongside the steps. The vehicle shuddered, its damaged systems failing. The moment they made contact, Callum popped the hatch. "Go. I'll get the emergency kit." Estia didn't hesitate. She lifted Mixa and splashed through the ankle-deep water on the stairs. Callum grabbed the survival pack from under his console and followed, the craft already listing, starting to go under behind them. They made it to the massive entrance doors, just as another gust sent a wave crashing against the building. Callum put his shoulder into the ancient doors, and they groaned open, revealing a cavernous hall lost in shadows. "Emergency lights," Callum muttered, digging into his pack. He pulled out a luminescent rod and snapped it. A soft blue glow illuminated their sanctuary. It was a formerly magnificent reception hall with high, vaulted ceilings and intricate murals depicting Neridian history. "It's beautiful," Mixa whispered, her small voice echoing. "The Commerce Guild shuttered it years ago," Estia explained, wringing water from her silvery blue hair. "It became too costly to maintain." Callum scanned the area. "We should be safe here until the storm breaks." He unpacked the survival kit, thermal blankets, ration bars, a portable heater, a med kit. "It's not a luxury suite, but it'll keep us alive." Estia watched him with those curious, luminous eyes. "Why did you stop?" "Your superiors gave a clear order to stand down." Callum paused, meeting her gaze. "On my world, we don't let people die in the water, regardless of their species. The Neridian custom is not the same," she said softly, helping Mixa out of her wet outer layer. "We prioritize our own survival. It is why our species has endured." "And yet," Callum countered, "here you are, risking it all for your daughter." A faint smile touched Estia's lips. "Perhaps I am not a very good Neridian." As night fell, the storm's rage increased. They huddled around the small heater, wrapped in blankets, listening to the wind and the crash of water against the walls. Mixa had finally succumbed to exhaustion, curled against her mother. "She's worn out," Callum observed quietly. "She is more resilient than she appears," Estia replied, stroking her daughter's hair. "Like her father was. Was? He was lost when the first major storms began, 3 cycles ago. He was a meteorologist. He noticed an anomaly in the weather patterns, something that worried him, something artificial." Callum leaned in, intrigued. "What do you mean, artificial?" "I am not certain." He was detained by state officials before he could explain everything. The official report called it an accident. Her voice hardened. "There are no accidents in Neridian state operations." The implication hung in the air. Callum found his gaze lingering on her face, the elegant curve of her jaw, the way her blue skin seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. He couldn't ignore the pull of attraction he felt. Despite their different biologies, as if she'd read his mind, Estia's eyes met his. An electric spark passed between them, a mutual recognition that went beyond species. "Is it common for humans to stare, Ranger Anderson?" she asked, a teasing note in her voice. "Callum," he corrected, suddenly aware of their proximity. "And yes, I suppose I am." Her lips curved into a smile that sent an unexpected jolt of warmth through him. "Is this a typical human trait, or is it unique to you?" "Probably just me," he admitted with a nervous laugh. The Ranger Corps' manual didn't exactly have a chapter on feeling an attraction to a rescuee from another species. The words were out before he could stop them, but she didn't take offense. Her eyes widened with genuine interest. "Attracted?" she repeated, her voice dropping. "How curious." I have read that humans are more expressive with their internal states than Neridians. That's one way to describe it, Callum said, now intensely aware of the small space between them. Outside, the storm howled, but within the walls of the old Commerce Guild, a different sort of storm was gathering, one that neither of them was prepared for. A loud crack of shifting foundations jolted Callum from a light sleep. He was disoriented for a moment, the dark, grand hall confusing his half-awake mind. Then it all rushed back. The storm, the wrecked cruiser, Estia. She was already on her feet, her luminous eyes wide. "The lower level is taking on water," she said, gathering their small camp. "We must find higher ground." Callum checked his wrist device. "It's 3 hours till dawn. The storm should be losing energy by now." "These are not normal storms," Estia replied, gently shaking Mixa awake. "They do not follow natural laws." The child stirred. "Mama, is the water here?" "Yes, little one. We must go upstairs." Estia's voice was a forced calm, but Callum saw the tension in her posture. They gathered their gear. Callum took the pack, and Estia carried Mixa, whose small legs couldn't move quickly enough through the water now covering the hall floor. The grand staircase brought them to the second level, a confusing network of opulent offices. Most were locked, but Callum put his shoulder into one, and the lock gave way. It was an executive suite, with large viewports overlooking the flooded city. "We're safe here for now," he said. Estia placed Mixa on a plush sofa, covering her with a thermal blanket. The girl was asleep again in seconds. Callum and Estia stood at the window, staring at the transformed landscape. The city was a maze of dark canals, the tallest spires like islands in a black sea. "I've never seen a flood this catastrophic," Callum said. "The storms have worsened every cycle," Estia replied. "My bonded mate believed they were being engineered." "Engineered? By who?" Before she could theorize, voices echoed from the corridor. Crisp, official Neridian voices. Callum's hand went to the blaster at his hip, but Estia laid a warning hand on his arm. "Wait!" The door flew open. 3 Neridians in the formal attire of the city's leadership stood there. The leader, a tall male with deep blue skin, stopped short. "Councillor Turan," Estia said, her voice turning to ice. The official's eyes narrowed. "FealoriaNexus, I had hoped you would have been claimed by the lower district floods." His gaze shifted to Callum, hardening. "And a human, interfering in Neridian matters as always." "He saved our lives," Estia said, stepping protectively in front of Callum. "Which is more than any Neridian did." Turan's mouth twisted. "Your bonded seditious notions have obviously corrupted you. Taking aid from an off-worlder, have you no pride?" "Your pride would have let my daughter drown," Estia shot back. The tension was thick. Callum quickly assessed. 3 officials, probably unarmed, but with the authority to call guards. "We're just seeking shelter," Callum said, his voice even. "We'll be on our way when the storm passes." "You will be on your way to detention," Turan replied. "The human, for violating non-interference protocols. And you, Estia, for your association with your bonded's traitorous research." One of Turan's aides stepped forward, holding energy cuffs. Callum tensed, but Estia surprised them all with a sharp, defiant laugh. "You still don't see it, do you, Turan? These storms are not natural. They are manufactured, and I understand the reason." The counselor's smugness faltered. "You know nothing." "I know everything," Estia bluffed, her eyes flashing. "My bonded mate transferred his data to me before your agents silenced him. It is now mirrored on off-world human servers." Turan's deep blue skin faded to a pale, sickly shade. "You are lying. Am I? Shall I explain to the High Council how you've been assisting the Syndicate with their weather pattern tests? How much? Did they pay you to let them use our planet as a terraforming experiment?" Callum watched, fascinated. Estia was either a brilliant liar or knew much more than she'd let on. Turan's aides looked nervous. "Counselor, perhaps we should." "Silence," Turan hissed. His eyes darted from Estia to the sleeping Mixa. "This proves nothing." "You have no proof." "I don't need proof to start an inquiry," Estia countered. "How many of your allies will stay loyal when their own estates are underwater?" A heavy silence filled the room. Finally, Turan stepped back. "This is not finished. When the waters recede, no place on Neridia will be safe for you. Or your human protector." With that, he spun and left, his aides scrambling after him. When they were gone, Estia's strong facade crumbled. She sank into a chair, trembling. "That was remarkable," Callum said, moving to her side. "And frightening. Were you telling the truth about your husband's data?" "I have pieces," she admitted. "Enough to be certain of Turan's guilt. But not the full data. Just fragments and suspicions." Callum knelt beside her, taking her cold hands and rubbing them between his. "You just made a very powerful enemy." "I already was one," she said softly. Her eyes met his, and that electric spark returned. "Thank you for standing with me." "Always," he replied, surprised by his own sincerity. The storm raged outside, but in that moment, neither of them heard it. Estia leaned forward, her face just inches from his. "Neridians are reserved," she whispered. "We do not typically show thanks with physical contact, but I have researched human traditions." Callum's heart hammered in his chest. "Is that so?" "Mom." "Fascinating research." Her lips curved in a smile that sent a wave of heat through him. "Would you object to a practical demonstration?" He responded by closing the gap, his mouth finding hers in the dark. Storm-tossed night, the first dim light of dawn filtered in. Callum awoke to the feeling of Estia's warm body against his. Her silver-blue hair was spilled across his chest. The night had been a revelation, a passionate discovery of the unexpected compatibility between their species. A tiny sound interrupted the quiet. Mixa was standing by the makeshift bed, her eyes wide. "Mama? Why is the human in our sleep nest?" Callum suppressed a smile as Estia's skin flushed a deeper blue. "Mixa, Ranger Callum and I were sharing heat. It's a human custom for friendship. Different from our own." Mixa considered this. "Like how Pella's family sings the dawn song, but we use the water blessing?" "Exactly like that," Estia said. Relieved, Callum retrieved his uniform and got dressed. "How about some breakfast, Mixa? I've got protein bars." The child's face lit up. "Human food, is it sweet?" "Some of it." As he handed out the rations, Callum marveled at how his life had changed. 24 hours ago, he was a by-the-book ranger. Now he was a fugitive, protecting a Neridian woman who held a dangerous secret and her daughter. And he didn't regret it. Estia joined them, her eyes meeting Callum's with a shy desire that made his pulse quicken. "These are good," Mixa declared. "Humans make better food. And they help strangers. And they're strong." She looked at Callum with pure admiration. "I wish we were more like humans. A civilization that would let a child drown," Estia murmured, her face darkening. Before Callum could reply, his wrist device beeped. The emergency beacon. "Ranger Anderson, this is Captain Holt, Human Embassy Security. We are registering your beacon. Report status." Callum glanced at Estia. "Captain, this is Anderson. I'm sheltering from the storm in the Old Commerce Guild. I have 2 Neridian civilians with me. My cruiser is lost." There was a pause. "Anderson, we've received reports you violated non-interference protocols. Commander Drell is demanding your immediate surrender to Neridian authorities." "Sir, I rescued a woman and child from drowning. If that's a violation, I stand by it." "This is bigger than you know, Anderson," Holt's voice dropped. "There's a diplomatic incident. The Neridian Council has lodged a formal complaint. They accuse humans of abducting their citizens during the emergency." "That's insane." He's trying to discredit humans to cover his own crimes, Estia said loudly. Who was that? Holt demanded. FealoriaNexus, she answered. My bonded mate was Callum Nex, chief meteorologist. He discovered the storms are artificial, and he was murdered for it. Another, longer pause. Ms. Nex, those are serious allegations. I possess the evidence, she bluffed again, smoothly. The complete data my bonded secured. But I require a guarantee of safety for myself and my daughter. Callum watched her, his respect growing. She was a fighter. Stay where you are, Holt finally said. I'm dispatching an extraction team. 80 minutes. When the cum went dark, Callum looked at her. You don't really have the full proof, do you? I have fragments, she admitted. Enough to know Turan is guilty. We are creating a window to locate the actual proof. Callum told me where he hid the primary data. Mixa, who had been watching, turned to Callum. Will you remain with us? After the flood recedes? The question caught him off guard. He hadn't thought past survival. But looking at this brave woman and her small, perceptive child, he knew they were more than just a rescue. If that's what you both want, he said. Estia's expression softened. We do, very much. A distant whine cut the moment short. Approaching aircraft. Time to move, Callum said, grabbing the pack. We need to get to the roof for extraction. As they left, Estia grabbed his arm, pulling him into a brief, fierce kiss. No matter what happens, last night was real. Callum held her gaze. This is just the beginning. The roof access door groaned as Callum forced it open. The wind and rain hit them, though the storm was finally weakening. The rooftop was a vast flat expanse, designed for shuttles. Perfect for extraction, Callum said. He spotted the sleek shape of a human transport approaching. There they are. Estia shielded Mixa from the wind. Callum, she said, her voice tight, we are not alone. He followed her gaze. A Neridian security vessel was approaching from the opposite side. Turan, Estia whispered. Get behind me, Callum ordered, drawing his blaster. The human transport landed first. The hatch slid open, revealing Captain Holt and 4 armed security officers. Anderson, Holt yelled. Move it, we've got company. Before they could move, the Neridian craft touched down. Turan emerged, flanked by 6 guards in combat gear. This is Neridian sovereign territory. Turan's voice boomed, amplified. The woman and child are citizens. The human is to be detained. Captain Holt stepped forward. Counselor Turan, I'm Captain Holt, Human Embassy Security. We are extracting our citizen, who is responding to an emergency as permitted under Section 12 of our treaty. Your citizen abducted Neridian nationals. Turan countered. Hand them over, and we can discuss a reduced sentence for the human. Callum felt Estia's hand grip his. Don't let him take Mixa, she whispered. Never, he promised. Captain, Callum called out. Counselor Turan is a criminal. He's part of the conspiracy generating these storms. Turan's face contorted. Absurd accusations from a desperate man. I have proof, Estia announced, her voice ringing out. She reached into her dress and pulled out a small glowing data crystal. Callum stared. She had never mentioned this. This is my husband's complete research, including communications between Turan and the Syndicate, authorizing payment for the weather technology. Turan's confidence vanished. She's lying. That's a common data stick. Is it? Estia challenged. Shall we access it right here for everyone to see? Turan's eyes narrowed. Guards, seize them. The Neridian guards raised their weapons, but Holt's team was faster, forming a protective line. Stand down, Counselor. Holt warned. Any aggressive action will be seen as a violation of our diplomatic treaty. Turan smiled, a cold, calculating look. Captain, are you aware that your ranger spent last night in intimate relations with this Neridian citizen? Such cross-species activity, without registration, violates Section 23 of that same treaty. Callum flushed with anger. That's none of your damn business. It is very much the business of both our governments. Turan sneered. Before Callum could answer, Estia stepped forward, crystal in hand. What happened between Callum and me was private and consensual, and it is completely irrelevant to the crimes Counselor Turan has committed against our people. Mixa, silent until now, suddenly spoke. The humans saved us when no one else would. Her clear voice carried. My mother says that's what makes humans special. They help people even when they don't have to. The simple truth hung in the air. Even some of Turan's guards looked uncomfortable. Enough! Turan snarled. Take them. As the guards advanced, Estia raised the crystal. One more step and I destroy it. All the evidence gone. You're bluffing. Am I? Her finger hovered over the crystal. My husband died for this truth. I will sacrifice anything to see his killers face justice. She wasn't lying. Turan hesitated, then signaled his guards to stand down. This isn't over, he seethed. No, Estia agreed. It's just beginning. Captain Holt seized the moment. We are taking these three into protective custody. Any interference will be considered an act of aggression. Turan, furious but beaten, stepped back. As they boarded the transport. Callum leaned close to Estia. You never told me you actually had the crystal. Some secrets keep us alive, she whispered. But I promise, no more secrets between us. The hatch sealed, and they lifted off, leaving Turan alone on the roof. In the human embassy, Dr. Lydia Wilson analyzed the crystal. This is extraordinary, she murmured. And terrifying. This technology. It's destabilizing the entire planet's ecosystem. If it continues, the atmospheric layers will cascade. Within a year, the planet will be almost entirely underwater. It's a targeted purge, Estia said. The lower districts are full of political dissidents. Ambassador Pierce, a tall woman with steel-gray hair, made the call. I am convening an emergency session with the Neridian High Council for tomorrow morning. Ranger Ms. Nex, you will both be there. That night, in a guest suite, they tucked Mixa into bed. I should take the couch, Callum said awkwardly. Estia stepped close. Is that what you want? No, he admitted. She smiled, tracing his jawline. After everything, do you really think I want to sleep alone tonight? She looked up at him. When this is over, what happens to us? I've been offered a permanent liaison position here, Callum said. And the Science Exchange is looking for a Neridian atmospheric specialist. Hope flickered in her eyes. That sounds perfect. There's just one more thing. From his pocket, he pulled a simple ring, forged from an alloy of earth.